Take us behind the scenes. I reckon many of us thought, how does this business actually work?
So the Big Issue was launched 16 years ago, so we've been working in social enterprise for quite a while now, and it was launched on the steps of Flinders Street Station with our first Big Issue vendors selling copies of the magazine. The model's very simple as a social enterprise, so we have authorised vendors who are homeless and disadvantaged people who purchase magazines from us for $2.50. They then sell them on the street for $5 and they keep the difference. So they operate and work in their own little micro business.
You go ahead.
Yeah, well, explain exactly how you feel that helps the homeless and the disadvantaged, to have that kind of model that you've got.
Certainly. So what we see is with our vendor population, they perhaps don't fit into mainstream employment opportunities. They may have the capacity to work, but maybe not in jobs that I guess you or I might be able to fulfil. So these vendors come from a variety of backgrounds. They come from domestic violence backgrounds. They may have mental health, substance abuse issues, any number of factors, I guess, that limits their ability to enter mainstream employment. Our work opportunity in the Street Magazine enterprise is that we provide an opportunity just that. Vendors can choose when and how they want to work. All they need to do is, I guess, sign up with us and register as a vendor, and then they can pick and choose when they want to work and earn an immediate income. It's a low bar or no bar employment opportunity for Australia's most disadvantaged people.
Sally, it sounds great, but obviously I noticed that most of the sellers, not all, but most of the sellers out on the streets are men. Is there part of this that disadvantaged women can get involved in?
Yes, certainly. So what we did identify a few years ago is that our vendor model basically was working very well for men. So 85% of our vendors are males. But what we know about the statistics around homelessness is that it's split pretty evenly between the sexes. So there's 105,000 people that are homeless every night. What we identified is that through this selling subscriptions to the Big Issue magazine to businesses and individuals who maybe aren't able to access our vendors in capital cities, we could provide an employment opportunity for homeless and disadvantaged women. So we operate distribution centres through our women's subscription enterprise in Sydney, Adelaide and Melbourne, and that enables us to provide work opportunities for these women. So for every 100 subscriptions that we're able to sell, we're able to provide one employment opportunity for a homeless or disadvantaged woman.
Sally, there's a really important phrase on screen as you're speaking, innovation in social business. Tell us about this, because you're really looking for the next great innovation in social business. The Big Idea is a competition you're running. Tell us about it.
So the Big Idea actually came, I guess, through demand from universities looking for the Big Issue to engage with their students, and also, I guess, the fact is that social enterprises are really difficult to run, and to think of a sustainable and scalable social enterprise, you know, it needs a lot of brains behind that. So what we've done is to develop a national competition for universities and university students to come up with the next big issue. So basically we're piloting it this year, the Big Idea competition with 2 universities, and these students will be engaged and access lecture series and webinar series with social enterprise practitioners and also Australian thought leaders who will help them to develop a business plan and a case, I guess, for their next big idea and what they think could be a sustainable social enterprise.
Sally, I guess it's relatively easy to think of a business which can bring in money in pursuit of mission. I suspect it's quite hard to think of one which brings in sufficient money that it is actually financially sustainable. Did Big Issue get to that stage?
So the Big Issue Street Magazine enterprise is certainly a self-sustainable social enterprise. So we operate off the sweat of the brow, I guess, of the vendors that are working each fortnight. So we're very much reliant on them as they are reliant on us to continue to sell the magazine. It certainly started with an initial period of funding, the Street Magazine enterprise, way back in 1996, but over time it's developed into a very successful business. But you're quite right, it's really difficult to develop a social enterprise. And for us, a social enterprise, it needs to meet a number of criteria, and I guess the most important one of those criteria is that it needs to be able to provide direct employment for homeless and disadvantaged people directly within that enterprise. So the Women's Subscription Enterprise and the Street Magazine Enterprise, directly within those enterprises, homeless and disadvantaged people are earning an income, and that's the real challenge of running social enterprises.
So what we need is a big idea for a big enterprise which employs disadvantaged people, but that at least over time is able to financially sustain itself from some form of revenue stream.
Exactly right. So
that's a big idea.
It is a big idea and it's a big challenge, but we're really, I guess we really believe that by providing students and the next, I guess, generation of social entrepreneurs, there's no reason why this big idea can't come from university students that are studying in Australia today. And what better opportunity, I guess, to have an opportunity to work with the big issue, Australia's social enterprise, and also with thought leaders and influential Australians like Shergold and Simon McKeon to help you to develop your business plan and your social enterprise. I guess it's going to be a win-win, we think. It could end up creating hundreds and hundreds of jobs for homeless and disadvantaged Australians, but also provide these students with, I guess, a really good understanding of social enterprise and how it fits and is important into Australian society.